So during our N-Conference, I'm delighted to speak to Beth Fisher-Yoshida. She's a professor at Columbia University and a program director of the Master of Science in Negotiation and Conflict Resolution. In addition, she supports global clients to empower their negotiation skills. So Beth, great to have you here today to talk about negotiations.
Thank you so much, Noelle. I look forward to our conversation.
So starting off with a question related to your extensive background in negotiations, why have negotiations become such an important topic for you personally?
So when I think of negotiations, I think about interaction with people, I think about communication, I think about it from multiple cultural lenses, and so I think it's part of a foundation of everybody's life. Sometimes we talk about the capital N, the big N negotiations, which are more formal, but I'm thinking also about the little n negotiations, constantly how do we make better social worlds, better communication, better relationships. That's why it's important.
So Beth, you recently launched your new book, New Stories, New Power, A Woman's Guide to Negotiations. So I would assume that women in negotiations are a truly important topic for you. So are there specific challenges when it comes to women in negotiations?
Yes, so what I started to notice over the years was that women have different patterns of what shows up in a negotiation. And so I was curious about it. Working in a university, I went to the research is contradictory, so I decided to do my own research. And part of the reason it's different for women than it is for men, one of the main reasons, is all of the social stories that we learn growing up about what a nice girl should be, what a woman should be, then what a boy should be, what a man should be, and they're different. And so we show up differently with different societal expectations on us. And a lot of times we're not even conscious of these stories, but they do influence all of our behavior. So I was curious to get to the bottom of that and see not only what it is, but what can we do to manage it and make it more effective for us as negotiators.
Okay, so I understand that your focus really lies on those inner narratives that people have. So what consequences do those stories have for negotiations then?
Everything. Everything we do in life is about the stories we carry, whether we know it or not. But think about it, like as you're growing up, you're a little infant and you hear all of these different things about what you should do, what you shouldn't do. So all of that shapes us. So the environment, the family, the school, our religions, our community, all of that, right? So I'm carrying all these stories with me about how assertive I should be or not be assertive, or should I be liked or not be liked, and what do I need to do to be competent? Do I need to show my academic credentials or not? So all of that plays a role. So no matter how much you study negotiation, you study strategy and tactics, all of the good tools that are out there, who you are and how much confidence you have, how much you believe in yourself, that shows up as well. So regardless of whatever the tactics are or the strategies, if you don't have the confidence to do what you need to do, you're not going to be effective.
So being an individual preparing for a negotiation is quite challenging to be aware of those stories. How do I become aware of those stories?
Life work. So I think we need to always be aware of who we are, and we have to learn what are my experiences, what kind of influences shape who I am. At the end of the day, I think it's just a good practice to go back and reflect on the day. It doesn't mean to be self-critical. That is not what I'm saying. What I am saying is appreciate what you've done, what you've accomplished in the day. Even if you're just kind to other people, that's a big deal, but also be kind to yourself. It's kind of a theme of what we were talking about earlier. So the more you know yourself, the more you understand what you want to change, what you want to grow to be better, and what you want to modify to become more effective.
And when it comes to those positive stories, how do I use them to empower my negotiations?
So I think part of it is just believing in yourself, believing in your confidence. So for example, if one story of me would be that, well, I have a couple of different degrees, right? I don't have to think about the degrees. I just know that regardless of who I'm talking to, I have the mental capacity to talk to them, right? That I don't have to prove that I'm intelligent or not intelligent. It doesn't matter. And I'm okay that somebody knows more than me about a lot of different topics, because I'm also okay not knowing everything in the world, because I can't know everything in the world. I know what I know, but I also have the mindset of a learner, of being curious, of connecting with people, being in relationships. So that just gives me the confidence to just show up and be present and not have to worry about what I'm trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to those negative stories, is there a way to actually reframe them and to use them for my own power?
Absolutely. So you have to know what they are first and understand the effect they have on you, where they came from, why you believe in them. You know, sometimes you wonder, Why do people like to be the victim? Well, there's something positive about being a victim. You get attention from people and you think, okay, how can I turn that? How else can I get attention that's more constructive, that's more effective, that's more positive? So that's a way of rewriting the story to understand why I have that story and how it serves me, and then to change it into a positive story.
So we just talked about reframing, so it sounds like a truly powerful process. Are there any other options for individuals to claim their power in negotiations?
I would start small as a step towards something bigger. So it's a constant iteration of identifying something small to achieve, even just showing up. If you're shy about showing up or not confident, just showing up, commend yourself for showing up and continue to build on that, and always focus on what you've accomplished rather than what you didn't accomplish. It's a very easy thing to say and a very difficult thing to practice. Unfortunately, I think we're too accustomed to self-criticism, and we say, oh, I should have done this and I should have done that, when in actuality, you've already done so much just by showing up.
So now we have talked about people and negotiation at the individual level, right? But I want to focus also on the organizational level. Is there any advice from your side? How should organization alter their negotiation process nowadays?
So who are they negotiating with? You mean like other teams from other organizations, or?
Other organizations, also internal organizations.
Internal's the hardest.
Yeah.
So if you think about goals that you have, but you think about a meta level goal. So if you're all working in the same organization, then it's not okay to only think about your own needs, because let's just say different departments argue over budget. Everybody wants to pull on the budget, but if you think about what do we need as an organization, it's a different sense. Now you're committed to the organization, being loyal to the organization, not only loyal to your own team. And if you are negotiating with other partners, if you're just framing it as a partner, already makes a difference. It's not like my adversary, it's my partner. So if you have a longer term relationship with whoever you're negotiating with, I would think you want to negotiate well and constructively and collaboratively, because you have that relationship. If you're super competitive and win everything you want in the first round and they lose a lot, how are they going to be going forward? They're going to become even more fierce and more defensive. So you're really losing in the long run, even though you might be winning in the short run. So collaborative partnership mindset, I think, works.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to the overall negotiation process, which phase for you is the most important one?
I thought about that. I think preparation, if I had to choose one, of preparation process and post-negotiation, I would say preparation, because if you have a good start, a good foundation, then you can be agile in the moment, and then you follow up because you've already built a relationship. If you don't have a good start and you kind of, winging it, which I say winging it is not a strategy. Let me make that clear. Because, I'll just go in and I'll figure it out. I'm like, oh boy, right? So they go into the negotiation. If you're first starting there, you've lost all of that prep time. And when I say prep, I don't mean that you can predict everything that happens, because you can't, because you're interacting with another human being. But you can prepare enough so that you can be, I do my Serena Williams interpretation, where you're kind of in the court and you're not sure where the ball is going to come, but you're ready for it wherever it does land. Yeah. So probably preparation.
Okay, so that's a great answer, because when focusing on the closing of a negotiation, right? Because from our perspective at the Schranner Negotiation Institute, we don't perceive a non-agreement as a failure. However, we perceive it as a wise decision when it's better to walk away, right? So what is your perspective on this? When is a negotiation successful for you and when is it not?
I agree. You have to know when to walk away, because if you stay any longer, it's a losing proposition, or dangerous or threatening or whatever it is. But if you want to maintain the relationship or revisit it, then there might be that opportunity. Or what you learned from it, you can apply in your next negotiation. So I agree, it's not a failure. If you do come to some kind of an agreement, it's really good to summarize and follow up specific next steps to implement what you've agreed to, because so much information gets exchanged in a negotiation. You walk away thinking you know and you're in agreement, when actually you can have two different understandings of what was agreed to. So that's why the follow-up is important for that situation.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to the walk away, how do you walk away? How do you do that?
Well, it could be where you say, you know what, I think maybe we're not going to come to an agreement today. Why don't we just go think about it some more and reflect on it? Because sometimes just being in a different physical space and time does give you a new insight into something. Then you can revisit it. I thought about something afterwards. I hope it's okay if I just bring this up again. Or whatever it is, you might say, you know what, I need to go back and talk to my team. You don't have to just say, this is a failure. You don't say any of that. You just think, I need more time in whatever capacity it is. So you're ending on a good note so that the door is still open for you to revisit and come back if you want to. If not, then you don't.
And so you should never do it in an emotional way, or should you sometimes?
Like, yes. No. Well, you know, if you're feeling upset about something, it's really hard to hide it sometimes. Some people are better actors than others, or more poker face than others. You can say, you know what, we need to regroup on this situation. Maybe you're trying to save face as well, because it's not professional to be upset in an organizational work situation, so you don't want to be that way. But you can tell that if somebody's triggered you or you've triggered them, you're not going to probably focus on that, but you're going to try to contain it and just buy yourself more time. Or you can even just take a break and then come back more composed and then close the negotiation.
Mm-hmm. That's a really great advice. And for young people, like especially women, but also young men, how should they prepare for a negotiation? So what should they focus be, especially when they're a bit more shy? What should they do?
My assumption is they might be in a team and they might be given some role to play, and it would be good if they are, then they know their specific charge, rather than trying to get the floor when they're senior people, or not being given the floor because they're junior and then they just sit there not saying anything. So just really understanding their role in the team, understanding the team dynamics, understanding the goals of the team, and then trying to identify what is their contribution to the negotiation, and do more listening than talking, because you don't have the experience yet to understand some of the more subtle dynamics, and there's a whole lot you can learn by watching others on your team.
Mm-hmm, true. You just mentioned listening, right? We have this 80-20 percentage rule in our institute. What do you think about this rule?
80 listening or talking? I hope it's 80 listening.
80 listening.
Yeah, and for junior people, it might even be 90.
Of course.
Because you may not have the floor for the 20%. You definitely don't want to step on anybody else's toes, you know, knock somebody more senior over to have the floor. You don't want to do that, because that won't be valued. And you know what? In advance, I would ask, you know, what would you like me to say in the negotiation? How would you like me to participate? If people don't give you the direction, then you should ask for it so you're clear about it.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to those different roles, right, you just mentioned them, we have this FBI model when it comes to those roles. What do you think about that?
Mm-hmm. You know, if you can afford to have enough people on a team so that the decision maker doesn't need to be in the room, I think that's wonderful. Sometimes you don't have that luxury because, let's say, for example, I'm negotiating with two people who founded a startup, and then they need to negotiate with each other. Well, they're the principals and the decision makers and the negotiators. But if you have that luxury, I like that, because I liked what Matthias was saying about the emotionality not being present, because you might just give away more than you want to, but you're really good to advise and help make decisions from the background. Also, sorry about the relationship part. If you know somebody, it's better in a client, for example, it's better not to be there, but to be informing your team behind the scenes. I like that idea as well.
Right. And you just mentioned startups, right? Especially for them, it's really, really difficult to have those different roles, right? To apply them. But what we teach them is to just wear different hats, right? So just incorporate different roles, because I mean, they just have maybe two persons in their team, so they have to incorporate different hats.
That's right. That's good too. You know, there's something, I don't know if you know, Edward de Bono has 6 thinking hats, lateral thinking, and each color hat has a different purpose. Like one is more emotions, one is facts. So you can also use that kind of concept. I like that, to wear the different hat. I'm in a different role. I'm connecting with you. We're friends, but I also am thinking about the business situation and the finances. So yeah, it's good. I like that.
Are there still any aspects in negotiation that still surprises you as an expert?
You know, I'm an expert, but I'm not an expert in everything. So I'm always surprised. And now I'm thinking about doing some more research, interviewing some more women, and getting some more like deeper case studies. I think there's always an interesting way to learn more about people's strategies and approaches and what the challenges are that they've overcome. And there's always another story to tell. So I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Beth, for this conversation. I really appreciated it.
Thank
Thank you so much for being at our conference.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.